we're just learning that the leader of ISIS in Afghanistan and Pakistan has been killed by a U.S. drone strike. Hafiz Saeed Khan was killed in a strike last month. And joining me now is CBS News national correspondent David Martin. David, what can you tell us?
Well, this was a strike that was conducted as part of a much larger organization, a joint operation with U.S. and Afghan forces in eastern Afghanistan. And the commander of U.S. forces in Afghanistan has estimated that the entire operation killed as many as 300 ISIS fighters, including the head of that particular ISIS branch. And he said that those 300 fighters represented about 1/4 of the organization of ISIS in Afghanistan and Pakistan. So that's a very significant blow to any force to lose 1/4 of your organization plus your top leader. Top leaders can always be replaced. The question is, will they be replaced by somebody as competent as the person who was killed? Fighters can be replaced as well. Again, the question is, will they be raw recruits or will they be experienced fighters? But I don't think there's any way to describe this other than that it is a fairly significant blow to this one branch of ISIS, the branch in Afghanistan and Pakistan. But ISIS is also taking military blows in other parts of the world. There are about 200 ISIS fighters holed up in the Libyan coastal town of Sirte, and they are being hit by American airstrikes and slowly being pushed back by local militia fighters for the Libyans. And then there's a key town in Syria, which is called Manbij, which may not mean much to our viewers, but is the key link between the outside world and the ISIS capital of Raqqa in Syria. And the U.S.-backed fighters in Syria are very, very close, probably within hours or days of taking that city and therefore cutting ISIS off from the outside world.
David, you attended a briefing this week with Lieutenant General Sean McFarland, who is in charge of the war on ISIS. You asked a very interesting question at that briefing, whether they were ready, whether troops were ready, U.S. troops, but also troops that the U.S. are supporting, Iraqi troops on the ground, are ready to take over Mosul, a key area in the fight there in Iraq. I was curious what he said to you.
Well, he said not yet. And that's a function of two things. One is the Iraqi forces. You have to have so many trained. I think they need 5 full brigades. That's about 15,000 to 20,000 troops to attempt to go into Mosul. But almost as important as the number of troops is the amount of logistical support that you can give them. And right now, the U.S. is in the process of converting an air base named Kiara, which is south of Mosul, into what will become the major logistical hub for what is going to be almost certainly the biggest operation of this entire war against ISIS, which is the retaking of Mosul. But there are a lot of political obstacles to this operation as well, because the government of Iraq has to somehow work in coordination with the Peshmerga forces up to the north of Mosul, and also with Shiite militias that also want part of the action. So there's a lot of groundwork that still has to be done. And while we're sort of ticking off the military successes against ISIS, we shouldn't allow that to have people conclude that ISIS is on the brink of defeat. ISIS is taking a military beating, but what's happening is ISIS is turning from a military organization which operated like an army that took and held territory. back into a terrorist organization, which melts into the population and then tries to conduct suicide terrorist attacks, both in Syria, in Iraq, and of course, as we've seen, also in the West.
David Martin with a comprehensive view from the Pentagon. David, thank you.
Sure thing.